Hi, this is Garden Hands. I'm Tim.
And I'm Lindsay. And tonight we're going to sit down while the sap is boiling and talk about how we got into the maple syrup hobby. So, how did we get into the hobby?
I think we started about 5 years ago when my wife had an idea, Jody, that we should have a hobby. And it needed to be a family hobby, which it is, and it needed to be fun. And maple syrup just kind of fit all those things, and we had an idea we'd maybe do it anyway, but maple syrup is something you can get out in the spring when you can't do much else, it's muddy or whatever. You get out in the spring, you engage the whole family, we all have fun at it, no matter how small a bucket they carry or what it is, and we have fun. And we sit and tell stories and we eat at the shack here, and it's a good time. We used to tap trees, not me per se, it was before I was out of high school, but 2 generations before us on our farm had tapped trees. A gentleman named Guy and Carl Whiff and their sons Tom and Charles. It was mostly Guy that managed it, and the rest of them helped him, but he tapped. Actually, the old syrup shack is just directly behind this one. It's all fallen down now, but they tapped the same woods that we're tapping, and they tapped that for probably, they acquired this farm in the 1950s, so it would have been since then that they had been tapping. And then he got hurt in 1972, so he quit then, and then we started again just 5 years ago. So
And how many trees was he tapping?
they had, and I don't know the exact number, I'm gonna say between 800 and 1,000. They had, the trees were bigger then, so they had a lot of trees with 2 and 3 buckets on them. And they had enough to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they had plenty.
So, walking back 5 years, 2016 season, we had 10 trees tapped.
Yeah, that's right. We tapped 10 trees. We made a total of a gallon and a couple of quarts or something like that, was it?
Yep.
And along the way, we learned a few things, and like everybody else does, we started with a turkey fryer. And I remember the picture of us all standing around the shop. There was only 3 grandkids then, or 2? 3. Standing around the shop, huddled around this little bitty turkey fryer, watching water boil. But we got a gallon out of it, and we burned a couple of pots up.
So it happens when you walk away from the turkey fryer for a few minutes.
Yep. But it was good. We all had fun.
Yep.
But we had 10 old taps. And that's how you start out. There's nothing wrong with it. We made enough syrup to, we each had a quart or 2, and it was fun. Yeah, it was good fun.
It went well enough that 2017 rolled around and we increased the number of taps to 80.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Right around 80, yeah.
And were you still set up in the old shop around the turkey fryer?
No, we graduated. We went to must be like a 2x3 flat pan that had a couple of runs in it, so it did move around, and we could start on one end and take off from another end. We built an arch ourselves and made it with, we used some cement staves or silo staves to build it, and put a glass door on the front of it. That was kind of cool. I like that. So you could sit and watch the fire. And we made, I don't remember how much we made that year.
Is it 10 gallons that year?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
10 gallons. So that was enough. That was kind of about right. And then we got addicted to it more, I guess you'd say. But
So 2018, sounds like we might have started increasing the number of taps again?
we must have. I don't recall that year. We went up to,
I think it was 100.
was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a huge increase, but a little bit.
It was enough.
Used the same pan, and then we got that old stove that we used for finishing, so we could finish it outside. Seems like the previous year we boiled it out there to almost close enough, and then we brought it in the house. One time I didn't make it in the house with the whole batch.
Well, that's right. You tripped going up the stairs and
Yep.
landed with a pot of syrup all over the porch.
Yep,
Yeah.
but that happens.
That happens. You didn't burn the pan that year.
Yep, so then we took it in the house and boiled it, and found out that when you boil syrup in the house, it isn't just steam that comes out, it's sticky steam.
Sticky steam?
Sticky steam.
All over the walls and the counters.
Yep. But it worked. We got the 10 gallons, like you said.
So after the 2018 season, and you're thinking about what went well, what didn't go well, you decided to go bigger again.
Well, I don't know if we were gonna go bigger. We didn't tell everybody that.
No, not everybody.
Not everybody.
But you did have some plans that would take a little bit longer.
Well, I think we talked to our local carpenter, Andrew Kiefer, and they tap trees as well. And then we went down and saw a gentleman by the name of Chuck Rasmussen, who had a really nice kind of a timber frame shed, same as this shack, similar to this that he had built himself. And we started thinking and planning and what if and when we and all that stuff. And so we kicked that around in that spring because we talked to Andrew then in the spring and drew up some plans, pretty rough, on the tailgate of the pickup. And it just so happened that the windbreak across the road at the farm was in need of being rejuvenated. So we hired a neighbor to come over and we cut all the trees there and logged them up and stored them across next to the farm buildings. And then we hired Colbinson sawmill, and he came up and we sawed with a bandsaw, portable bandsaw. We sawed all those in September of that year. And I think we ended up with almost 10,000 feet of lumber for the beams and the boards and the purlins and the roof and all of it. And it worked out real well. It's a lot of work, but it was fun when you got all done.
And then you came over, you prepped the site, we had the stakes put in, you put a driveway in, and in the fall, was it, you
Yep.
poured the cement?
Yep. We must have poured the cement in September,
Sounds about right.
maybe the end of September, because the leaves were coming down.
Yep.
Remember, we poured the cement and then all of a sudden the leaves turned and fell. It seemed like that day.
Yep, there's leaf prints in some of the cement. And,
Yes.
Yep.
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 So
And then in early December, you actually started building.
Yes. So that worked out. We were a little bit nervous about starting that late, but in the end, it turned out really good. Andrew did a super job. A lot of it was kind of spur of the moment. What if we put a beam here or a brace here? And it turned out really nice. It's a place that we have a lot of fun with the family.
And we wrapped that up early in 2019, so we got to have the 2019 season in here.
Yep.
And how many taps did we have that year?
Oh, we must have been around 250, I think, at that
Okay.
time, something like that. So that was kind of a nice number. But we had a new evaporator, and we had a small system for holding our sap when we got in. That just lasted 1 year where we did it that way. We made...
About 40 gallons that
Was
year.
it? Okay, yep. No, it turned out real well. I mean, for a first time getting to know all this, there was a lot of trials and error maybe, but
Sure.
we didn't burn any pans that year.
We didn't burn any pans. We used the Kubota out in the woods as well that year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Otherwise, we just tapped along the road before and walked in to do it. So we moved up to the Kubota or a side-by-side, and that worked out real good.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, it just does.
So last year, 2020,
Mm-hmm.
we might have bumped up the number of taps that we had to over 300
Yes.
that we're telling people.
So there's a little secret or a little funny thing that we do with Jody. She would always ask us when we got done tapping how many taps you put in, and I'd kind of stray away from the answer, and then Lindsay wouldn't tell her, and then her husband would say, well, about like last year. So it was always kind of a joke between us that we don't always tell her how many we tap, because she kind of rolls her eyes when we increase
She's
it.
the logical one that realizes we can only eat so much syrup.
Yep, I guess. So anyway, we tapped 300, give or take. And I think it was a good year. We made 70 gallons of syrup, and we quit early. We put in a steam hood above the stove, which helps out some. We didn't have a big issue with steam going up and out the cupola, but it helps direct it a little better.
Yeah, and we added the new filtering system as well for bottling,
Yeah.
and that worked really well. So Mom wasn't
Ladling.
ladling and funneling into the jars.
Yeah, that worked out good. It's a small vacuum canister that you hook a vacuum cleaner to it and it draws it down through the filter. And then there's a spigot on the bottom made for filling bottles. So that's a big improvement.
Yeah. So that brings us to the 2021 season. We are almost done. That's what you guys said anyway. Tomorrow we gotta stop.
Gotta stop.
We gotta stop. So we tapped about the same number of trees, about 300, give or take. And things are going.
Going good. We had our 2 biggest runs yesterday and today, I guess it was. We collected like 1,000 gallons of sap, which is a lot for us because we only boil 20 gallons an hour, so there's 50 hours of boiling. Tonight, if you had the cameras on, you'd see me with all my friends out here boiling. Wait, I'd be here alone.
Yeah.
That's all right. So we'll end up finishing bottling on Saturday and Sunday, maybe a little bit tomorrow. And then we can finish up and clean up and
Pull the taps, clean
Pull
the
the taps.
buckets,
yep.
pack it up for the season.
Yeah, it was a good season, 2.5 weeks, give or
Yep,
take, something
that's
like
about
that.
average.
And we make enough syrup for us and what we give away, and we might sell a little bit, but not very much. Most of it walks out the door when each person visits. This year was a little different with COVID, but works out well.
Is there anything that we're gonna do differently next year? Any improvements or changes?
I think we had talked about, we have a second bulk tank, and we talked about lifting that up so it can flow from that bulk tank right direct to the evaporator via just gravity, a gravity feed line. We have to figure out how we're gonna filter it a little bit before that, to build a stand and put that up, and then maybe a small tank on the back of the Kubota that's a little bit lower yet to just dump it into, and that would pump up into the holding tank on the Kubota, or the side-by-side. And that might be, but shouldn't have too many things. Everything seems to be going good, so.
Excellent. What would you say is your favorite memory or favorite part of your maple syrup hobby?
Oh, being with the family. Just working with them and teaching the grandkids different little things in the woods, and but just teaching them the simplest things. They get the biggest smile on their face when you let them help carry a pail, or if they get to drive the side-by-side and move it ahead 5 feet. That's huge for them, and it's things you can teach them that they don't get to learn someplace else maybe. That's the most fun. And to have visitors when it's allowed, and be able to give them some maple syrup when they leave and see a smile on their face and know that they will enjoy it for sure.
So we made 70 gallons last year. That's a lot of syrup. A little bit less this year. Are you in this to make money?
Yes. No, this is a hobby. You don't have a hobby to make money at usually. This is the part that you're making a return on is, like I said before, being with family. That's your investment, and that's your income right there, is being with family and having fun. That's the best part.
So is there any tips you would give to somebody who might want to get into the hobby?
Yeah, ask your neighbors, whoever's doing it around you. There isn't a maple producer I've met that wouldn't answer a question that you asked them. I mean, they all started the same way you're gonna, usually.
Yep.
But ask questions, and there's chat rooms on the internet or
Yeah.
whatever. Go to Garden Hands.
Shameless plug.
But ask your neighbors. Everybody is always glad to help you. They enjoy seeing young people or old people get started at it. It's fun. It's a great family hobby.
Yeah.
Get your family involved in it. Make it a hobby. You're not going to do it to make money the first year. But
Any year?
never. No. It is there's a lot of people that do it to make money, and that's great. It's good that they can produce that product. Something like 2% of the maple trees are used for making maple syrup, so in a way that's a good thing. There isn't an overproduction of it, but yet we're producing enough that people still can have the real thing.
Thanks for watching our history of our maple syrup hobby. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions that we didn't talk about or that you might be interested in, we're happy to answer them. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.